comes to driving and developing high-performance vehicles, the international accomplishments, accolades, and reputation of Richard Dick Guldstrand makes it impossible to place him anywhere but at the very top.
Dick has been dedicated to the hot rod fraternity, if you will, to the racing fraternity for so long that his name is synonymous with racing and hot rodding. And the minute you meet Dick, you get that impression. You know that he's just full of energy and good ideas. The second minute that you've had a chance to meet him, you feel like you're a friend.
Effervescent, very, I would think, Californian, always very hip and positive and excited, and promoting Corvettes, and also saying how well they were going to do with his help and influence and so forth.
You know, he's as close as I've come to a Smokey Yunick type personality.
I didn't know what to expect. I'd seen pictures of him and so forth and so on. And he came up to the studio. We'd had lunch, and I just couldn't get over his enthusiasm and his animation when he describes him. He was like a designer, and so full of energy. And he wanted to talk business and, find out what we were doing and how he could help us. And all I wanted to find out is about racing, and I would ask him stories about, what was it like to drive at Le Mans? What was it like to drive with Bob Bond around? What was Roger Penske like? And he'd describe these things, and you could, the way he'd move his hands, he'd talk so passionately about it, you'd sense that you were actually riding with him down the Mulsanne.
Well known for his chassis expertise and success on road racing tracks since the 1960s, Guldstrand has come a long way from the young man who started out in pursuit of a career in law at the persuasion of his parents. Even though he found himself working in the financially rewarding aerospace industry after earning an engineering degree from UCLA, the native Californian knew his heart was about 500 feet out in the parking lot, pinned on a tattered '56 Corvette. Switching his interests from ovals to road courses, he landed a sponsorship from H.E. Baer, a Hermosa Beach, California Chevrolet dealer. His Corvette, outfitted with fuel injection and a 4-speed, was an immediate winner. Under the Baer banner, Guldstrand won most of the West Coast BP events in the early 60s. His sponsor was so pleased, he bought Guldstrand one of the first Stingrays to race in the fall of 1962. Beginning in 1963, the racing and development exploits of Dick Guldstrand became the stuff of legend. From 1963 to 1965, he won 3 consecutive SCCA Pacific Coast Championships, including the Southern Pacific AP Championship in 1964. The same year, he was named the California Sports Car Club Driver of the Year. Guldstrand won the GT class at the Daytona 24-hour race in 1966 and finished 9th overall.
I've thought about myself since I was on the 66 Daytona Corvette team for Roger. And when the accident occurred, we came in and didn't have lights. He tried to drive a couple laps without lights, and we, among us, originated taping powerful or good hand flashlights on the fenders so we would have lights.
I've been in other endurance races, and I know that I'd like to have a little bit more than a flashlight taped to the front of the car. So he's pretty nonchalant about it. Radiator and body braces were bouncing around, and they cut into the radiator core, and we started to lose coolant. There was a fellow, he had already told Roger that he had a similar car with radiator available, and he'd park it up near the fence. When the time came, it was just about daylight, that we knew we were going to have to replace the radiator. A few of us organized the tools. I went over the fence, and I guess the owner was there and so forth, and we removed the radiator from his car. Of course, Dick was still circulating and counting laps, and when we got the radiator out, we took it back over the pits and scheduled a pit stop and brought it in and put the new radiator out of his car into the race car.
The following year, he raced at Le Mans and set a track record in the GT class while leading the race for 13 hours.
He was always building and designing parts for local racers in the California area, but with the Le Mans car, he was dissatisfied with the handling after their first practice, and he went about in France to go to junkyards and collect spring leaves and take our rear spring apart and put in the leaves that he felt would do the proper job to improve the handling of that car, which he did, and it worked fine, and they were, Bondurant and Yenko were satisfied with the, and Dick was satisfied with the change and the handling, and I felt that was a very great accomplishment in a foreign country to try to collect the right curvature and width of leaf and length of the leaf and so forth to put your own spring together. You know, it would be a challenge even in the United States.
When you go to Europe, which is such a hotbed for motorsports, sporty cars, they feel like they've got the high ground. If you can go in there with a Corvette and have a good showing, I mean, it's not only for the mark, but it's for your country as well. And that's the part that really pulls on the heartstrings. You're in a foreign country, and there are a lot of unknowns there. There are a lot of people that don't think much of us as Americans, and if you can come back holding your head up high, that's got to be a proud moment for them.
In both 1966 and 1967, Guldstrand drove the legendary Grand Sport Corvette at the 12 Hours of Sebring for Roger Penske. In 1968, Guldstrand opened his own business, Guldstrand Engineering Incorporated in Culver City, California. Soon, he was designing and building high-performance cars for competition throughout North America, South America, and Western Europe. Always busy and highly sought after, Guldstrand built and developed Lola race cars for the James Garner Racing Team, AIR, and also managed the team for 2 years. In the early 1970s, Guldstrand Engineering Incorporated built 70% of all the Chevrolet-powered road racing cars on the West Coast. Dick Guldstrand played an enormous role in the development and testing of the 1985 Corvette. He set new track records at the Mid-Ohio 24 Hours, finishing both first and second overall. He also set new track records at the 12 Hours at Willow Spring for enduro cars, once again finishing first and second overall. Later that year, Guldstrand developed his high-performance dream car, the GS80. It was set against such high-performance cars in Europe as the Testarossa, Countach, and Porsche Turbo. Then in 1987, Guldstrand, driving a 1956 Corvette in the Vintage Race Series, won the 75th anniversary of Chevrolet at Monterey, California. Dick Guldstrand continues to be one of the true innovators in the present decade.
Living in California, he's also very environmentally aware and has worked on engine programs. The one that I'm most familiar with is a propane project that he's worked on.
And he did get a fund to develop natural gas engines, and he had it converted and ran it on natural gas, and it was a definite environmental accomplishment. I think he had California Air Research contributed to it.
Hey, we've got to walk together here with the environmentalist and the hot rodders and come up with a solution here that will satisfy both. So he's not only trying to raise the bar from a performance standpoint, but he's also trying to raise the bar from an environmental standpoint, and I salute him for that.
The 1990s began with the announcement that he was developing the Guldstrand Grand Sport 90, a world-class exotic supercar based on the Corvette ZR1 chassis. The GS90 sported an entirely new body, along with major upgrades to its engine, suspension, wheels, tires, and rear end.
His dedication to Corvettes and trying to make the mark successful, and just doing as a thorough a job as he can to be successful with the car.
Behind all those stories is a tremendous entrepreneur, businessman, a guy that really had his pulse on the California mentality and really made the Corvette a better car, a special car.
That's why I feel so akin to Dick Guldstrand, is he does have talents as an engineer. I don't know what his formal training is in that regard, but I know he certainly acts like an engineer. He understands the cars well, is able to move them further in their technology, and that's real important in a racing environment, and that makes him such a full person here, you know, somebody that we should really put up on a pedestal as somebody that we endure as a Corvette, true Corvette enthusiast.